What happened this week in Philadelphia was easily the worst case scenario. Now we just have to hope that this 2026 season isn't dead in the water for your fighting fish.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Ethan and I with you. Welcome into another edition of Locked On Marlins. Locked On is, of course, now the #1 sports podcast network celebrating 10 years of your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. It is a busy show for you today. On this Thursday, we're going to look ahead to this weekend's homestand against the Nationals, get you a kicker for the Red Sox series that will happen early next week as well. I'll break down the Marlins minor trade that they made with the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday, getting minor league catcher Logan Driscoll. We'll also dive into the lack of quality left-handed pitchers the Marlins have in their bullpen, which is just one of the many things that have plagued this roster in recent times. But we're going to start by sifting through the rubble of the Marlins sweep at the hands of the Philadelphia Phillies at Citizens Bank Park. Guys, it just seems that whenever we go on the road to play another National League East team, things just blow up in our face. We find a way to either lose the series or get swept. Obviously, I still have that bad taste in my mouth from just a couple of weeks ago when the Marlins went to Atlanta and got their butts handed to them there against the Braves. I have equal disdain for Citizens Bank Park as well. That's just how it is. And this team is now back to 500. At this point in the year, they are 64-64, and they check in now 4 games back of that final wildcard series. As we take a look at the standings entering Thursday night's games, you can take a look here for our visual audience. For our audio audience, I'll list them out for you. The Cubs and the Phillies have those top 2 spots. Phillies are up 2 games on the third-placed Padres. Then after that, you've got Arizona a game back, St. Louis 3. The Marlins sit now 4 games back after things go wrong in Philadelphia. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, Washington trail them, and we can just forget about those Mets, Giants, and Rockies. But this roller coaster of a season rolls on for the Marlins. After winning 3 straight series against the Angels, the Pirates, and the Reds, you thought, okay, we're building some momentum here into this Philadelphia series, and unfortunately things go wrong. They end up with a 2-4 road trip. Just tracking back to the early part of this season when Jamie and I took over the show, I had this team pegged for somewhere between 80 and 83 wins, which I think is a rather common prediction. But this team is playing exactly like a 500 team. 3 steps forward, 3 steps back. Even June, it felt like it was 10 steps forward, and then July was 10 steps back. This team finds a way to play to the level of its competition at some point, hopefully with a really aggressive rest of this season coming up. Really, really good teams that they have playing against them. Hopefully they're able to step it up the rest of the way. But kind of backtracking to the way that this series went for Miami, Monday and all of its madness really set the tone in a negative way, after which the Marlins really never recovered. And you can't predict how that ball game would have turned out. If you weren't watching, that was the ball game where Javier Sanoja, down 4-1, bases loaded, 2 outs, 7th inning, double down the right field line, called foul. If it had been called fair and correct, that would have tied the game. It would have cleared the bases. Instead, the umpires muffed up the call. It resulted in just 2 runs scoring. Otto Lopez was placed at third base. Ultimately, when all was said and done, the Marlins suffered another 1-run loss. They dropped that one 6-5. It would be incorrect of me just to blame one call as a reason why you lose just one game or one series when things go off the rails, but there's no doubt about the fact that there is some juju that comes out of that. And obviously they were not able to flip anything their way across the other games of the series. And it really was a series marred by missed opportunities for this Marlins team. Monday was the microcosm of that. I mean, you had 2 base runners apiece in the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th innings. A lot of runners on base, and all but one of them that day were stranded or retired on the base paths. All told, the Marlins were 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position on Monday. Not even a Brian Navarreto home run, of all things, is going to save you from your eventual demise against the Phillies. Then Tuesday, the Marlins rock with a bullpen game of all things in that ball game. It was supposed to be Tyler Phillips' turn in the rotation. The Marlins opted to play it differently, going with a slew of bullpen arms before throwing Phillips in later on in the game for multiple innings. They had built a 3-1 lead, and unfortunately, Michael Peterson chose that day to have his worst day of the entire season so far. And Big Mike has been, as we've sung his praises so often on this show, he has been excellent. Everyone is entitled to an off day at one point. Bullpen arms are, coin tosses at the end of the day. There are going to be times where things don't go your way. It just so happened to not go Big Mike's day on Tuesday. He allowed 4 runs in that 6th inning. He got the final 2 outs at the 5th. Clayton wanted to squeeze some extra life out of him, and he started out the inning by hitting Trey Turner. Then Bryce Harper flies out. After that, 4 straight Phillies hits. Arraez, Bohm, Stott, Marsh driving in runs. Peterson was taken out of the game after that. By that time, the Phillies were already leading 4-3, and they went on to win that ball game, a final score of 6-4. I think the better question here is, why should we be having a bullpen game when you're in the midst of what is likely a season-defining series? The Marlins wanted to work backwards against a dominant Phillies lineup, and it ultimately backfired on them. And they wouldn't have to get this cute around their starting pitching decisions if they just had any kind of depth, and they really don't right now, with Max Meyer still on the shelf, and there aren't exactly any options chomping at the bit in AAA right now to come up and join this team. So they're just kind of working with what they have, and at this point, that's how things are going to play out. It's just unfortunate that it just so happened to happen against a team as good as the Philadelphia Phillies. Then on Wednesday, had multiple opportunities there to make a comeback happen late. They found themselves down 3-0 after Luis Arraez crushed a 2-run homer off of Sandy Alcantara. Javier Sanoja brought the Marlins a little bit closer with a solo shot to open up the 6th inning, gave the team a chance to at least tie the game or take the lead after Otto Lopez and Xavier Edwards singled with 1 out. Unfortunately, Aaron Nola buckled down after that. He got Griffin Conine and Roberto Hernandez to strike out to end that 6th inning. And they had another chance there in the 8th, again with Javier Sanoja singling and Otto Lopez drawing the walk to bring the tying run to the plate against a reliever in Jonathan Bolin, who the Marlins have had some success against this year. But then you had a really incredible play there by Brandon Marsh on the Edwards fly ball down the left field line. It was very Steve Bartman coded, to be honest with you, that fly ball down the line. You thought Marsh leaping up into the stands. He had some fans to contend with there, but he rose above every one of them to make a really great catch. Just another example of good teams making winning plays. And after that, Griffin Conine, who actually homered off of Bolin during the last homestand the Marlins had where they welcomed in the Phillies, Conine struck out to end that threat 1 batter later. And ultimately, the Marlins lost yesterday 4-1. The holes in this roster are showing themselves here at the worst time. The Liam Hicks trade is looking bad in the short term, obviously, especially under the microscope with Kyle Stowers on the IL and the Marlins lacking that slug at the first base position and really up and down their lineup, minus what Griffin Conine has been able to do, and to some extent, Roberto Hernandez as well. The Leo Jimenez experiment at first base is not working. He is just a lifeless slog taking over a spot on this roster. And I can't fathom why it has gone on for this long. It also doesn't help that Joe Mack has missed 3 games in a row. He did come back for the finale against the Phillies, but having him on the shelf there, be day-to-day for a little bit was not ideal. Brian Alvaretto held his own behind the plate in the meantime, and I think we saw for sure that Navi is your go-to backup catcher, and Agustin Ramirez really is not going to get trusted with many reps, if any, at all, behind home plate. Navi had a couple of good caught stealings, of course, the home run as well. It's really hard to not fall into the trap of thinking where this Marlins team might be if they had meaningfully added at the deadline. I mean, think about it. The 12-game losing streak in July is the reason why the Marlins deadline went the way they did. They did not meaningfully add to the roster while other teams got better. I mean, the Phillies, they went and they got better. They got Luis Arraez, brought him in from San Francisco, and it's painful to watch Luis Arraez do his thing against us after having him for a season and change, and him hitting a cycle in Philly. Now seeing him with the red pinstripes it's tough to welcome him back into your own division and watch him have that sweet short swing and do damage against us, and especially Sandy, who he's actually owned in his career, believe it or not. 6 for 11 lifetime against Sandy Alcantara with 4 RBIs against Sandy. And Sandy didn't pitch bad yesterday. He made a couple of mistakes. Obviously, things didn't go his way, but it wasn't exactly like it was a disastrous start for him. Occasionally, he himself is entitled to games like that as well. But diving in on a couple of guys that I don't think they're getting enough flack right now, to be honest with you, on the Marlins. Some concerning second half trends have kind of exposed this middle infield for Miami. I think it's apparent that Otto Lopez is still dealing with some kind of a nagging injury. I think it was a finger issue that had kind of been bothering him a couple of weeks ago. That's probably still the case. But looking at the splits between Otto Lopez and Xavier Edwards from the first half to the second half, it's apparent that this team is, they're missing the slug right now. They're missing those big boppers, but they're also missing the table setters. They're not getting the all-star Otto Lopez right now, nor are they getting the dominant version of Xavier Edwards. First half Otto, 334 average, 9 homers, 45 runs driven in. Second half Otto, in 29 games, he is without a home run. He has driven in 9 runs. He's hitting just 222. So that batting average has fallen over 100 points off the table. He is slugging just 265 in the second half as well. Not ideal for your starting shortstop. And then with X, he was hitting over 300 as well in the first half. He made his own all-star case earlier this season as well. Driven in 37 runs across 97 games in that first half. Second half X, 10 runs batted in. Batting average down to 239 in 31 games. So those are 2 big contributors that the Marlins are not getting enough out of right now. And to some extent, Owen Casey as well, who had a nice resurgence there across June and the first week of July before hitting the IL. In 13 games since his return from the injured list, he is hitting just 128. That is a 5 for 39 clip for Casey. So there's enough blame to go around for how this series went for Miami and for the second half fall off as well. But one bright spot continues to be Griffin Conine, who homered on Tuesday, of course. He's the only guy outside of Heriberto Hernandez who is keeping this offense afloat. He went into Tuesday sporting a 955 OPS since the All-Star break. In the month of August alone, his OPS is over 1,000. And there's only one other player in baseball with an OPS over 1,000 this month, and that is Yordan Alvarez, who's making his own case for AL MVP over there in Houston. For the season overall, Conine has homered 14 times. He's driven in 31 runs. He's batting 54% better than league average while hitting 278 on the year. So hopefully we can continue to see some good stuff from Griff, but the rest of this lineup is going to have to come together and back him up. We've talked enough about the offense. It's time to talk about some pitching, and we'll dive into this Marlins bullpen a little bit deeper here coming up next. I will tell you why a lack of quality left-handed options is holding this team back. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots treat your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. It's a zero sugar treat that's a sweet tooth approved. I like how convenient it is as well. It's just a small portable shot I can grab whenever I need a little pick-me-up, and it's become my go-to when I want something sweet without going overboard. Get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5-Hour Energy or Amazon. There's nothing like watching an MLB game, and it's even better when you get to watch it live. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's where there's Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. And it's simple to use as well. The Game Time guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. The seat views feature is huge. You can see the panoramic view from your exact seat before you buy. And Zone Deals let you pick the section and save even more while Game Time selects the seat. You can follow your favorite teams as well and get deals when new alerts drop. And there's always good deals on Marlins game, as we know, so you can always find them on Game Time. 2 taps and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats in minutes. That's what makes it so easy to decide last minute to hit a game. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. One thing that became increasingly apparent this week has been the lack of quality left-handed options for the Marlins in their bullpen. I feel like Monday made that abundantly clear as well. It's just John King and Cade Gibson right now in the Marlins pen to give them those left-handed options. This is just one of the many things that are holding the Marlins back right now. On Monday, King coughs up a couple of runs. Gibson gives up a run in the 8th. That was ultimately the difference in the game. Granted, John King had to deal with some really terrible weather in that ball game. They had him pitching through rain delay caliber weather. So part of me wants to give him a pass, but his first half and second half splits are atrocious. Cade Gibson was a little bit better, and then he allowed the run in his opening role on Tuesday as well. The ineffectiveness of the Marlins lefty relievers since the start of July has been pretty concerning. For much of the year, John King looked like he was easily the best Marlins offseason acquisition and perhaps one of the best free agent signings Peter Bendix has ever made for the Marlins, and there really aren't many options to be had there. But overall, he's still a positive WAR player, a 3.88 ERA on the year. His whip is great as well. It's under 1. Yet the season splits are really jumping off the page. His first half, a 2.48 ERA, a .75 walks and hits per innings pitched. The second half, different story for John King. A 10.48 ERA. That whip has climbed to over 2. And the Marlins really got exposed in this department against a lefty-heavy Philly lineup this week, where you've got to deal with Brandon Marsh, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Bryson Stott, Justin Crawford, let alone Luis Arraez. You've also been lacking the services of the better version of Andrew Nardi. I know the last couple of years when Nardi's been out there, he hasn't been good, but he had been the club's high-leverage lefty during that wild card run in 2023. He is now out for the year, as we know. He'll have some elbow surgery, it appears. But they're also lacking 2 of the top 5 left-handed pitching prospects entering this year, Robbie Snelling and Thomas White, both with lost seasons. Snelling made his debut. White undoubtedly would have made his debut had he not gotten hurt in May. The only other lefty option on the 40-man that's really shown any ability to get outs this year has been Dax Fulton, who is down at AAA for the time being. Beyond that, the minor league depth is not there when it comes to getting any lefty help. You've got 2 lefties down here at AAA Jacksonville between Patrick Monteverdi and Justin King. Patrick is a starter. Justin King is a reliever, but Monty can kind of be whatever you need him to be. Monteverdi did make one spot start early last year, but has not made the big league since then. His ERA is over 5.5 this year, almost 6. Justin King, on the other hand, has been up and down this year for AAA Jacks. ERA is almost 7 for him with a whip at 2 even as well. So you really don't have many options down at the AAA level either. So it begs the question, will the Marlins make any waiver wire acquisitions to kind of shore up that element of their bullpen here down the stretch? We could see that potentially. Aside from that, going back to Cade Gibson, his first and second half splits are pretty similar, and to be honest, they're both pretty bad. His first half ERA was 5.5. His second half ERA is 6.5. He has not really recaptured that 2025 form for Cade Gibson, and he has been a negative WAR pitcher. There's only 2 other Marlins pitchers who have had negative WAR seasons, and that would be Chris Paddock, who of course is no longer here, and Pete Fairbanks, who has shown every sign of kind of putting things together here across the last couple of weeks with 8 consecutive scoreless outings. And I do want to talk about Pete for a moment, because overall, this bullpen has had a lot of guys have career years, save for his last outing, Big Mike. Mike Peterson has had a great season. For Pete, it has been a lot of yuckiness for sure. But the last 8 appearances for him, he has flipped the script entirely. He mainly has fixed his release point. According to an article from Ben Reinrip of MLB.com, that's really what's been the one of the biggest changes for Pete since the All-Star break. He kind of worked a lot with this with Daniel Moscas, his pitching coach. He's always been a really high release point kind of guy and north-south kind of pitcher. But going back even 5 years, that degree angle where he released was around 63 degrees, and it was 59 degrees last season. Apparently that dropped to like 53 degrees at the first half of this season, and so that was one of the reasons why his pitches were simply not as effective and not as hidden as perhaps they have been in the past. His last 12 outings, though, he has raised that arm angle back up to near the 58-degree mark, and the results have been drastically different. It's a small sample size, but he's only faced 17 lefty hitters against them. He is 1 for 14 with 3 walks. So that's been one element of his game that is shored up. There's other numbers that back this up as well. The swing and miss is way up as well. 49 or 42% of his fastballs are getting whiffed on for the second half compared to just about 26% in the first half. And his cutter whiff is way up, nearly 60% compared to 25% in the first half. The home run rate has dropped. He is leaving runners on base more now than he was before. And there's perhaps a little bit of luck involved there with Pete. The batting average on balls in play tally is also down. It was 314 for him in the first half. That is now down to 200 here in the second half. So hopefully that's just an example of baseball balancing things out for Pete Fairbanks, which is really, really good to see. Now for the season, in the second half, a 2.89 ERA. First half ERA was not pretty at 6.83. So good to see that for Pete. And maybe we'll get some more help for him in that bullpen coming up with Anthony Bender, perhaps coming back to this roster soon. Bender is on his rehab assignment at AAA Jacksonville. We have not seen him since that series on the road in Denver in late June. He has appeared in one game for Jacks. That was Tuesday. Pitched 1 inning, gave up a couple of runs with 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. He had been really good prior to going on the IL with the stress reaction in his shin. 23 scoreless outings in the 26 appearances he made after April 20th. And overall, the Marlins have had the 4th best ERA in all of baseball since June 1st, with only the Tigers, Red Sox, and Yankees ahead of them in that department. And it might surprise you who has been the best in the Marlins bullpen since July 1st. It's Tyler Zuber, if you can believe that. A 2.45 ERA for Tyler. He's given up just 5 earned runs over 18 and 1/3 innings while striking out 21 and walking just 2 batters. So it has been an up and down season for this Marlins bullpen, but it needs to be a strength down the stretch here if this team wants any chance of getting back in the win column and forcing an issue here as they pursue that 3rd and final wild card. But coming up next, we'll turn the page. We will preview the upcoming homestand against the Nationals and the Red Sox, and I will tell you what to look out for as well. We will also break down the Marlins minor league trade that they made late yesterday, bringing in Logan Driscoll from the Rays. So that is coming up next right here on Locked On Marlins. Can we talk about one of the most underrated organs in your body? That's right, it's your liver. It's your body's filter, processing everything you consume and performing more than 500 functions every day. It's involved in things like energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, and vitamin storage, so it's doing a lot of work behind the scenes for you. That's why giving your liver daily support can be an important part of building healthy habits. Dose for Your Liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement designed to support daily liver function. Unlike another capsule or powder, Dose comes as a liquid 2-ounce daily shot that tastes like freshly squeezed orange juice. It's 0 sugar, 0 junk, and 0 calories, making it an easy addition to your daily routine. If you're someone with a busy schedule, you can absolutely appreciate having a simple daily wellness habit you can actually stick with. If you're balancing games, travel, work, late nights, and a packed schedule, it's why simple routines matter. And Dose can be that quick 2-ounce shot that can easily become part of your everyday routine. Are you ready to give your liver the support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.co/lockedonmlb or enter Locked On MLB to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you. Let's do something for your body. That's dosedaily.co/lockedonmlb for 35% off your first month's subscription. All right. For our final segment, let's turn the page to this weekend and the early portion of next week as well, because the Marlins are coming back to the friendly confines of Lone Depot Park, a place they have played incredibly well in this year. They will welcome in the Nationals this weekend after the off day today, and then they will have the Red Sox early next week. Washington is underneath the Marlins in the standings at 61 and 67 under their first-year manager, Blake Butera. They have now lost 6 of their last 8 games, including series losses to the Cubs and the Mets. They do have a rubber match tonight to finish up their series against the Texas Rangers. One thing I'm interested to look at for the Nats here in this weekend series is, will C.J. Abrams finally make that transition to second base? We saw this come out in the headlines earlier this week that Abrams will be shifting from shortstop to second base. Keep in mind, this was a guy that started at shortstop for the National League in the All-Star game this year, and he shouldn't have, because it should have been Otto Lopez, but that's another story. He's been the Nationals starting shortstop since they got him from the Padres 4 years ago in the Juan Soto trade. He's an offensive leader on the Nats and around the league, and yet his defensive metrics at shortstop have not been ranked very high. Meanwhile, Nasim Nunez, who is a former Marlins farmhand, is likely to get a lot of time at shortstop moving forward after getting 95 starts at second base for the Nats this year. So that's one thing I'm interested in looking at this week for the Nationals. But for the Fish, as far as they are concerned, this is a great chance for this to be a bounce-back series against the Nats. Marlins are 5-1 against the Nationals this year. And these next 2 weeks looking ahead are really favorable scheduling-wise for the Marlins. They will play 7 of their next 10 games against the Nationals. You simply must capitalize on this, because the rest of the schedule down the stretch, it's tough. You've got Kansas City as the back half of the next road trip, which is also going to start in D.C. But after that, you've got series against the Cubs, 2 of them, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, and you finish with the Braves. You've also got 1 home series against the Mets mixed in there. That'll be a nice reprieve. But that is a really tough schedule down the stretch here. So you have to make the most of playing against the Nationals. Then you've got the Red Sox coming in as well. They've had an unreal turnaround after that. They will host the Giants this weekend before coming to Miami. Chad Tracy has worked his magic. We'll see Adley Rutschman, I'm sure, come to Miami. He hasn't had a wonderful start in Boston, but excited to see that side of this as well. This weekend, the starting pitching matchups are not yet fully out, but we do know Ryan Gusto will go for the Marlins tomorrow, and then they will have a Yuri Perez slotted in to start on Saturday, a 1.66 ERA for a Yuri in his last 12 starts. Meanwhile, Gusto, a 4.70 ERA for the season. His last time out gave the Marlins a chance to win in that ball game against the Reds, gave up just 2 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. One piece of news that came in yesterday was the Marlins acquiring Logan Driscoll from the Tampa Bay Rays, a minor league deal for cash, so no waivers needed. It's the 7th Marlins trade they have made with the Rays since Peter Bendix took over, came over from Tampa Bay. It's actually his 3rd trade with his old buddies just in this year alone. Victor Mesa in February, and of course Liam Hicks at the deadline. This is likely just going to be a simple AAA depth move to bring in a guy like Driscoll. Don't really see him factoring much into the Marlins' big league plans, of course, with Joe Mack, Navarreto, and Augustine Ramirez up at the big league team. But AAA Jacksonville has just Bennett Hostetler and Garrett Forrester, so this is really just a depth move, and they might have to add him to the 40-man because Driscoll activated an assignment clause, and so that could mean he will be added to the 40-man, in which case the Marlins would have to make a move to make some space, which is likely to be William Kempner, who will be missing extended time with elbow surgery, and they can just throw him on the 60-man and open up a spot. Driscoll's just 28 years old, very limited big league experience, 15 games with the Rays 2 years ago. He was injured for the large part of the last couple of years. He had been appearing in 43 games with the AAA Durham Bulls in the Rays system. Beyond that, I want to end the show today with a farewell bon voyage right into the sunset for our good friend, Jon Berti. Jon Berti retiring today after an outstanding big league career, was an absolute role player across his entire career with the Blue Jays in the beginning, 5 years with the Marlins after that, with the Yankees and the Cubs as well. But the bulk of his career came in South Florida. 5 seasons with the Marlins. He was the MLB stolen base champ back in 2022 when he swiped 41. He really was the Javier Sanoja of the Kim Ng era. He was so much fun to watch. He was a big part of course, that 2023 team. The Marlins traded him right at the beginning of the 24 season, right before opening day, to the Yankees. I always loved watching Jon Berti play. It's really that type of player, the Sanoja types, the Berti types, that give you a lot of versatility and are really just good. You just plug them in and they do something to help your team win that day. They are the ultimate role players. Those are the kinds of players I find myself rooting for time and time again. And so for that reason, I wanted to dedicate the end of this show to Jon Berti today. Happy trails, my friend. By all accounts, an outstanding guy. We will always remember you down here in South Florida. But that is going to do it today for our show. Thank you for making Locked On Marlins a part of your day each and every day. We'll wrap up the show tomorrow. Jamie Goldman will be back with you then. Make sure you subscribe in the meantime if you're not already. Follow Locked On Marlins on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, wherever you find us. You can subscribe right here on YouTube. You can find the show on social media at LO_Marlins. You can find me out there as well at IBEPXP. That is EIBEPXP. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday, and as always, go fish.